Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Oh my God. Everyone's looking amazing at the end of the day. Whoa. How do you do that? Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I'm so thrilled and honored to be here, to be able to. Sorry, yeah. Everyone knows South Korea? You're going to swap this one? Ona means I see you. How beautiful is that, huh? In South Africa, we say, I see you. And I was born in this beautiful town in South Africa, in Durban, in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. And have you heard the term Ubuntu? Anyone heard of Ubuntu? Ubuntu is a philosophy that was born from Africa. And it means I exist because you exist. You know. So that's who I am. And I have the beautiful pleasure. I came in the morning listening to Jen speak, and you all now understand the difference between elite performance and high performance, which makes my job so much, much easier. Okay. As a psychologist, when I'm talking, I like to get to know my audience. So let's try a fun little exercise. Okay. I want everyone. I've got so many things to hold. Okay. Let's try this little exercise. Okay, everyone, put your hands up like this. Great. Okay, squeeze it together. Squeeze your thumbs together. I want you to look at your thumbs. Great. I want you to just notice if the right is crossed over the left or the left is crossed over the right. Okay. So everyone whose right is crossed over the left, please put your hands up. Let's have a look. Congratulations. You are statistically in the top 50% of the most beautiful people on earth. Woohoo! So many of you are looking disappointed. Oh no. And if the left is crossed over the right, then congratulations, because you are statistically in the top 50% of the most intelligent people. So we got a good balance here. You know, are you happy with where you'll fall, or you're disappointed? So I was called, I don't have a keynote. I have a masterclass on confidence, on teamwork, on what it takes to win. I've spent 2 decades traveling with professional athletes. I didn't study at StanFord. I couldn't afford to study at StanFord. I think my total education must have cost me a couple $1,000 coming in from South Africa. But I do lecture at the business school now. I lecture a module called the Neuroscience of Leadership. And that's what we're going to talk about. I'm going to teach you how the brain works. Because everything that you want to achieve, you need to know the user manual for this. Everything comes from here. So, and the beautiful thing is, let's get some slides up so you don't have to look at me. Okay. Oh, that wasn't my slide. So I was wondering, I was expecting this to come up because I know I didn't put those ones up there. Anyway, okay, so I'm going to show you something. What do you see here? A bat. You know what's the beautiful thing about a bat is when you look like this, it's a bat. If you flip a bat around, it looks a little dangerous, isn't it? It looks like, now you know why and how they created Batman. Because when you flip it around, it just doesn't look the same. And like this group of bats, they go into sleep. They're actually just about to fall asleep. But if you flip it around, they look like they're at a party. Isn't it? Now, why did I show you this? I started off because what I need you to know is that when you see something, it's impossible to unsee it. But what the eye sees and what the brain sees are two completely different things. Right? And what we got to try to do is we got to try to teach the brain to see things. We got to teach the brain to recognize certain patterns. So over the course of the next 90 minutes, I'm going to speak very slowly, by the way, because I prepared a 60-minute presentation and I was given 90 minutes. So, so if you find me like taking a pause for a long period of time, that's why. Okay, so I've broken it up into a few different parts. Okay, the first part is we're going to be talking about mindset. Now, I came in early on and I saw a lot of rugby examples and I saw the energy in the room going, So I also have a lot of rugby examples because I work with sportsmen. And I'm going to show you a picture right now. And the truth is that whether you like it or not, you've got 3 years, 7 months more to look at it. You know? It's not our fault. You know, Chloe messaged me, she's saying a lot of rugby examples, a lot of South African rugby examples. I'm like, if England gave us a reason to say something, we'd put their picture up there. Okay. So guys, you know what's remarkable about this? I know you've heard many things. I'm proudly South African, but honestly, in every sport in the world, they're the only country who've won 50% of the World Cups they've taken part in. We've taken part in 8 World Cups. We've won 50% of them. No other countries come remotely close to that. Right? It's an incredible statistic. You cannot take it away from them. Now, how did they do that? How did they do that? I know you know the difference between elite performance and high performance, but we're going to get into the mindset of elite performance. They did it because that team understands one thing. It's not about doing your best. It's about doing what is needed. There's a big difference. Doing your best, you could show up and you could say, hey, I've raised the bar. Like high performance is just nudging the bar forward, right? But when it comes to doing what is needed to cross the line, that is a completely different psychology. Completely different. So how does this team win? They win because no matter what situation they're in, they do what is required. Okay. So if you want to hit a number, you want to work, you want to achieve anything, right? If you're telling yourself, I'm giving my best, your best may not be good enough. But if you're telling yourself that me and the group of people around me, we are going to do whatever is needed to cross that line, the probability of getting over increases quite significantly. Correct? Do you agree? Simple thing. And over the course of my presentation, which I'll speak very slowly, you will see the importance of language, the importance of the words that we tell each other every single day. How do they mold us in so many shapes and forms? So let's move forward. This is the Gutenberg press, invented in 1940. Okay. What's amazing about this is when Johannes Gutenberg made this, there was no Amazon, there was no Barnes and Nobles, there was no bookstore. The literacy rate in Europe was less than 1%. Okay. He didn't say, I'm going to wait for everything to happen and then I'm going to make this. He made it. And after he made it, the people came. When Carl Benz created the first car, okay, there was no driver's license. In fact, the first driving license was a letter given by the king to him to drive his own invention. There was no roads. There was no 24-hour petrol station. None of that was there. He created it, and then he moved something forward. He moved the needle forward. Okay. Now, why am I saying this to you? I'm saying this to you because there's a very big difference between being prepared and being ready. Every single one of you right now are prepared. And I'm going to explain this and show this to you over the course of this journey. You are prepared. You have all the knowledge and you have all the experience and you have all the expertise. But what you're hoping for is that I'm ready to try something. Ready means you know the outcome's going to be guaranteed. But nothing is guaranteed. You're already prepared. You have to try. This is the difference. So the difference between sitting back and just waiting and the difference between pushing yourself is all about mindset. Do you know whose fingers these are? Anyone? Huh? Nadal? Yeah, anyone else? Any guesses? Any other guesses? Federer, okay? The Nike gives it away, but it's Nadal, yeah. So I got to tell you something really interesting about these fingers that are taped up. Every practice, every match, the fingers are taped up. Okay? And you only know if the taping's done correct after you hit a ball. You're sitting in the locker room for 2 hours, but how are you going to know if it's right until you don't hold the racket and until you don't hit a ball? So every now and then, if you watch him, you'll notice that he goes and hits a few balls, but sometimes, very rarely, sometimes he comes back to the bench and he's there for a few minutes. And what he's doing is he's cutting this out and he's redoing it again. Now, what's remarkable is not what he's doing there. What's remarkable is what happens the next day. The very next day at practice, he comes to practice 2 hours before practice starts. Sometimes no one else is there, but he's there. And when you ask him, why are you there so early? What's happening? His answer is, do you know what his answer is? Anyone can guess? Routine? Practicing the tape? I'm practicing the tape, yeah? Okay. I'm getting ready. His answer is, maybe I did not give the physio enough time to get it right. That's his answer. Why is he saying it like that? He's not saying the physio didn't get it right. He's saying, I did not give him enough time to get it right. He is taking full accountability and full responsibility for every single thing in his life. Everything. Including the tape on his fingers. Because once you say it's someone else's fault, you're done. That means you've done everything right. Champions take full accountability and full responsibility for every single thing. And this was probably one of the most powerful lessons, and you'll see it repeated over and over and over again with countless champions. That mindset of how you show up, that mindset of what you do, the mindset of the words you repeat to yourself constantly over and over again. Now, success will always be determined by two things. And most people only look at the first one. They're looking for your resources. I heard this morning as well, Jen was saying, if you got a great idea and you need more money, come to me. Great. Sometimes there will be money, sometimes there won't be money. But I can tell you one thing, that most projects don't fail because of resources. They fail because of the will to push. The will to push. The will to drive. The will to do what is needed. That is will. That's a part of you. That is inside. It has very little to do with resources. Yes, some things need it, but most things need courage. Most things need determination. Most things need will more than anything else. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to go, and this next part is about courage. Courage is a really, really beautiful, beautiful aspect. And the reason why I'm focusing on that today is because from every executive I've coached, every sports team I've worked with, every person I meet, from a child who's 15 years old to an adult, everyone has what it takes. The ingredient that's missing is courage. That's what's missing. So let me show you something. Okay, this is a video. We're going to play this video. This is the most remarkable video you've ever seen. Okay. Has anyone seen this? Few people have seen this. For everyone? Okay. You're going to be absolutely mind blown. Watch this. This guy is dead last in a cycling race. And then he figures out everyone's doing it wrong. face of the guy on the bike. And then people will follow. All right. This is the most remarkable video. Why? The guy who's dead last figured out everyone else is doing it wrong. The guy who's dead last, imagine if the guy is last comes and tells you we're doing it wrong, you're gonna laugh at him. Huh? You're gonna like, that's what we're conditioned to do. But success, winning, has absolutely nothing to do with where you are. It has everything to do with what you see. The first step is what you see. You have to train your eyes and you have to train your brain to see where the advantage is. That's the first thing. Step one, awareness. Absolutely remarkable what it did. Step two, does anyone recognize any of this? Hands up. Anyone buy art in the room? Any art investors in the room? Anyone bought any art anywhere? No. Okay, great. One person at the back, going. All right, okay, great. So this will be a lot of fun here. This is a banana that's stuck on a wall. How much would you pay for this? Anyone? The accountants in the room would say the banana is 10 cents, the duct tape is 25 cents. I'm going to factor in maybe 2 pounds to go around the corner to the Tesco's. 250, correct? How much would you pay for that? Anyone? $100. $1,000, okay. This piece of artwork by Italian artist Maurizio Cattelan sold for 120,000 US dollars. Yes. That second one there is a urinal, exactly the same one we find outside. The artist Marcel Duchamp took it out of the urinal and he put it on the wall as an art piece in 1917 and still in the museum. Every other person that installed a urinal in a museum after him is a plumber. No one else can do it. And this one is the most remarkable one. Literally just 6 months ago, an artist was commissioned to do 2 paintings and paid 84,000 euros. And he sent 2 blank canvases to the museum. 2 blank canvases. Now, the cost of all of these raw materials is probably £100 in total, with the urinal and the canvas being the most. Right. What is happening here? What is happening here? The thing that's happening here is courage. You see, only the first person gets rewarded. Only the first. No one else can send a blank canvas to a museum. No one. No one else can take any fruit. You can't replace this banana with a carrot and expect to get anything. Only the first gets rewarded. We have to know that. We have to understand that. It happens in my world in sport. It happens in your world in business as well. The first mover, the first one who has a little bit of courage, takes it all. Everyone else is playing catch up. And why did I tell you the difference between being prepared and being ready? Because you have the knowledge, you are prepared. What is holding you back? Ask yourself. Ask yourself. You learned every single thing today. There's nothing that I'm saying to you that you don't know. Hand on your heart. Which person in this room doesn't believe they have what they need right now to just be 10 times better? How many of you wish every day you go, whether you want to create something, whether you want to try something, whether you want to send an email, how often do you procrastinate? The only ingredient missing in every single one of us is courage. The courage to try. The courage to try is the only thing. And it's not your fault. We're going to go and I'm going to talk a little bit about neuroscience. We're going to reset the brain just now. I'm going to get my friend Chloe to come up and help you just reset the brain. And then we're going to go into some neuroscience. Because why are we fearful? How does the brain work? Once you start to understand this, you'll realize it's not your fault. But awareness can help you reset it. And once you're aware and once you reset, everything becomes significantly easier. Everyone with me? Athletes fail 70% of the time. Do we know that? Michael Jordan, you all seen his quote, I missed 80,000 times. He only scored the match-winning three-pointer 26 times in his life. In his entire career, only 26 times. He played hundreds of games. Tiger Woods only chipped in to win on the 18th 4 times in his life. Sachin Tendulkar scored 100 literally once every 16% of the time. He scored 100. Okay, 16% of the time. How is it that they're able to overcome this? Because if you had a 16% win ratio, you'd be beating yourself down. You'd be looking for another job, correct? Most of us would be. How is it that they do it over and over? They do it because the brain, most people's brain wants diversity, wants to do different things. Champions are the ones who do the basics the best. They're not thinking about the outcome. All they're doing is thinking about executing one thing on repeat, on repeat, on repeat, on repeat. Anyone play golf here? Any golfers in the room? A few golfers. So when I work with a few professional golfers, we hit one club for about 45 minutes to an hour. And before we hit one club for 45 minutes to an hour, we've warmed up for 1 hour. All the golfers, in 45 minutes, they finished 2 buckets of balls and played every club in the bag. Am I correct? That's why. Right? How are you going to master anything? The mind is going to get distracted. The mind's going to pull you in every direction. The secret to success is to overcome boredom. Now, what you have to realize is, I put this at the bottom here, because what makes you change? What makes you want to do something different? The lack of results makes you want to do something different. The lack of results makes us want to change. Right? Right. But everything that you're repeating, even though you can't see the result, something's happening. And you have to trust that. It's like a seed with a tree. For the first 1 year, or for the first 6 months, or first couple of days, you see nothing. It doesn't mean nothing's happening. Roots have to be anchored before you can grow. Isn't it? And everyone tells me, everyone's so fearful of change. And when I give these corporate talks, I'll keep laughing because you got together today to talk for an entire day on how to change everyone else's thinking, and yet our thinking is stuck. Isn't that ironic? Most of the time we are stuck, right? But our entire day we show up thinking of ways to get someone else to see something differently. Imagine if we just thought differently. Maybe we wouldn't have to worry about them at all. And guys, remember, we live in a world right now where any advantage you get is minuscule, minuscule. Tiny, tiny, tiny. In sport, we say the difference between winning and losing is small, the consequence is large. Right? But why do I say your advantage is minuscule? Not because of the quantum of it, but because of how short it is. Once you execute it, and once it works, everyone's copying it. You know this. Right? In sport, we see this. We're looking. I travel with the Indian football team. Do you know most professional football teams? You guys, I'm sure you like football. Yeah? Yeah. Are they, where are we in London? So all Chelsea fans here. Correct? Okay. Do you know any professional football team would have about 8 to 12 technical analysts, technical scouts that are watching the game. And there's one particular scout who's never with the other 11. He's always at the next opponent's game. He's buying a ticket and he's sitting in the stands and he's watching. He's not even looking, he's not even with the team. He's looking at what they did there that worked and that's not going to work against us. This is the world we live in. You know, we have to be agile. I know you all use that word, agile. You have to be thinking, but you have to embrace change, and we have to be courageous more than anything else. Okay, we're going to go into a really, really fun section. I want everyone to do me a favor. Take your phone, turn it face down on the table in front of you. Great. Okay. We're now going to have a little bit of fun, but not just fun. We're going to learn how our brain works. Super interesting. Okay. We're going to go into the science behind teams. Okay. How to get the brain to work together and everything. The one thing that I keep forgetting to bring this up, sorry. Okay, we're going to try this little exercise. I want everyone to imagine you're looking at the first screen of, when you open your phone, the home screen with all the apps? Great. So let me think. I want you to try to remember right on the top, the app that is on the left-hand top corner. Don't touch your phone. Just try to remember, what is that app? Try to think. What's the app on the left-hand top corner of your phone? So everyone got an idea? Rough guess? Yes, no? Got an idea? Okay, so I'm going to give you guys 5 seconds to quickly check if you're right, and then put your phone back down. Okay, once you check, put your phone down. Okay. All right, great. Guys, hands up. How many people got it right? 50% of the room. Amazing. Okay, but that wasn't the point of the exercise. The point of the exercise is, can anyone in the room tell me what is the exact time right now? 0. And every single one of you had to bypass the time to get to the app, because the time is there on your home screen. You scroll past it to get to that. Correct? This is how dangerous the brain is, and how focused the brain is, and how easy it is to bypass anything. Okay. This is how our brains work, and now it gets very, very interesting. Okay. You want to understand the art of performance, the art of teams, the art of selling, the art of anything? Okay. There are only 6 things that every single human on the planet wants. They all want the exact same 6 things. This was derived after looking at transcripts between 100,000 patients and counselors. 100,000 patients and counselors. They studied it. And we came up with these 6 words to describe what every single person wants. Whether you want to fall in love, whether you want to sell them something, whether you want to encourage them to join your team, whatever it is, these 6 words are the only things that matter. Now, to understand the impact of these 6 words, which I'm going to give to you, I want every single one of you to first think of a little conflict you've had with anyone in your life. It could be a colleague, it could be a partner, it could be a friend, it could be even the tiniest little conflict that you've had. I want you to remember that person. And then I want you to think about what that conflict was about. It doesn't have to be big, just anything, simplistic, but find that conflict. Understand, what were you trying to say? Or what was it about? Everyone got it? Great, 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 great. The 6 things that every single person on the planet wants is, the first word is, they want to be understood. You can even write it down. They want to be understood. Word 1. Word 2, they want to be heard. They want to be heard. Word 3, they want to be seen for what they do. Understood, heard, seen. Word 4, they want to be valued for what they do. Word 5, they want to be respected. And number 6, they want to be treated fairly. Now, in that conflict, did you not fight because one of these 6 things was missing? 100%. Every single conflict, everything will come down to this. When a person doesn't give 100%, when a person doesn't show up, when a person doesn't feel committed, when a person doesn't want to go and walk on that journey with you, it's because these things are not present. Any number on the planet that you want to hit, before you think of the number, you have to think of how am I going to make them feel that. Now, you know what's amazing is, some of you must be thinking, this is not rocket science, isn't it? What I'm telling you is not rocket science. You know this. You know people want to be seen, heard. But why is it so difficult? It's so difficult because of what just happened on the app. It's so difficult because if the mind's not thinking about it, you will never remember it. And if you'll never remember it, you're looking somewhere else. And if you're looking somewhere else, you'll never create that feeling. And that's why we feel like we're pulling further and further and further apart. Okay? So these 6 things are absolutely critical to any team, to any organization, to anything you want to build. Anything you want to build, it's this. And the beautiful thing about these 6 words is sometimes it takes 5 seconds. It just takes 5 seconds. And I'll give you one tip that I realized, that when you're working with corporate people, it took me a long time to realize this, we are slaves to our calendar. So anything you want to do, you have to put it in your calendar. So if you want to make someone feel more understood, you have to carve 5 minutes extra in your calendar to listen. Or you have to put the time in to connect. You have to put it in there, otherwise you will never do it, the brain is too busy. Okay? So, very, very important. I need you to remember that. Now, there's something really interesting about teams. Has anyone ever been taught how to be a great team player? You all have gone to college, you've got multiple degrees, you've got 20, 30 years of experience. Who sat you down and gave you a lecture or a talk, or you did a module on how to be a great team player? Anyone? One? Great. No one else. But yet, you're expected to be a great team player. Correct. And you expect everyone else to be a great team player. So, how are we supposed to bridge this gap? If we've never been taught this, how are we supposed to do it? So, the reason I'm saying this is because first thing is, we must understand, we must carve ourselves a little bit of slack. We've not been taught this. And now we've got to relearn how to do it. Okay. Now, what is the science of a team? I know I heard this word a few times in the morning. Team. What is the science of a team? What makes a great team? Tell me, what makes a great team? So team, by definition, is a group of people that align to a common goal. That's a team. But what makes a great team? Listening is a skill, yeah? Trust, yes? Big fun? Communication, great. Respect, great. Sorry? Diverse roles. Diverse thoughts, great. Team objectives, great. The objectives, the trust, all of that is there. In sport, and we look at it, we try to cultivate great teams. We're looking for diversity. Diversity is critical, correct? Diversity in thinking gives you diverse perspectives. Diverse perspectives allows you to mitigate risk. What is risk? Risk is everything you've not thought about. That's what risk is. If you spend the whole day thinking, everything that you've not thought about is risk. You know? And it's just a linear journey. It keeps going and going and going. If you didn't think about it, that's where the risk is. If you thought about it, it's not risk anymore. So there are 4 players in any team. 4 players, not just players in the sense of sports, forward, defenders. Every single team needs these 4 players. Okay. The first player that you need is someone who has the courage to move an idea, suggest a perspective, a thought, has the courage to move it forward. Okay. First. The second player in any team that you need is someone who opposes that idea. Most teams have a lot of that. Correct. You know. The third player in any team is someone who supports the idea. Correct. And the fourth player in any team, irrespective of whether you're corporate or sport, is someone who reflects on the pros and cons and can sum it all up. A reflector. A mover, an opposer, a supporter, and a reflector. Now, here's something interesting. The problem is when we talk of diversity, people have the inability to play these four roles. In great teams, each person has to play all four roles. That's the science of a great team. Teams fail when one person is only playing one role. And you all know this. You all know that there's one person who's the eternal cynic. Any idea you put on the table, they don't think it's going to work. And you get the one person who's the eternal reflector, just never says anything, just constantly quiet, just waiting, sitting on the fence, right? But if you want to build a great team, if you want to be a great team player, right, you have to cultivate all four roles. And when all four people, when everyone on the team is playing all four roles, trust gets built. You can't build trust without the four roles being played. Why? Because the person who's supporting one day is opposing one day. And you who's supporting one day is opposing one day. And then you all are reflecting and you all are doing this. And then all of a sudden you think, okay, it's okay for me to say something negative because I'm not being judged. And on the day when I don't believe something, it's okay to say it. Trust is built when every single person in a team learns to play all four roles. And you're 100% right. Trust is the essential thing for a great team. So this is a science of how do we build a great team. When they told me we got to talk about confidence, we got to talk about teamwork, I'm a scientist. I have to break it down to its micro building blocks. And the more and more I lecture this, the more I talk, the more keynotes I do. I've done over 1,000 keynotes. I realize that when you break it down to the fundamental things, we don't understand the fundamental things. In anything, I want you to imagine a puzzle. If the pieces are in here, and your head is just here, will you ever put that puzzle together? Zero chance. You have to eventually look at the big picture, recognize a few things, and come back. You have to look at the big picture and come back. We have to go deep. Whether you're building a team, whether you're hacking confidence, whatever you're doing, you have to be able to go forward and back, forward and back. Now, these balloons are not here by mistake. This was part of my design. So thank you for the production team who brought them here. Okay. What do you think will happen if none of us touch this for 30 days? What do you think will happen? It will come on, yeah? It will fall down, get deep. But no one's touched it, correct? And you've tied a hole at the end of it. It's done. But if we come back, we all agree that if we come back in 30 days' time and no one touches it, it would not look like this. Exactly. This is the perfect metaphor for courage, for confidence, for teamwork, for everything. You leave it the same. If you don't work on it, it's losing every single day. Every single day, it's losing something. And great teams, when people ask me about sports teams and I tell them, I said there are three teams. The teams that are shit, terrible. The teams that are good, and then the teams that are great. The teams that are shit, no one takes responsible for the standards. These balloons represent the standards that you want in a team. How are we going to hold ourselves up there? By what standard? No one's responsible, terrible team. Good team is when you have a leadership. They arrive on time, they're trying to get the best things, they're trying to motivate you every single day. Come on, come on, come on, come on, we can do this, we can do this. We get the numbers, they're finding a million different ways to inspire you, motivate you. They're flying speakers from around the world doing all of that. Maybe you'll be good. Maybe if all factors come in, maybe you'll become great. But teams that sustain greatness, every single person in that team is responsible for the standards. Every single person. So, whatever we want to achieve, the first question we've got to ask ourselves is, how comfortable do I feel pushing the person next to me? How comfortable? You know, it's such a, what I'm saying is not rocket science, but I tell you, I run this exercise with my sports teams. It's called you, me, we. You, me, we. So what it is we stand together in a group and we pick someone. We say, you. I say, Jen, this is what you're doing right, or this is what you're doing wrong. And then me, I pick myself. This is what I'm doing right, and this is what I'm doing wrong. And I say, us as a team, Unilever, UK, Ireland, ice cream, this is what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong. I've run this exercise 1,000,000 times, and I'll see the exact same trend. What's the trend? Can anyone tell me? Anyone have any idea what's the trend? The trend is, every you are highlighting all the positives. Every me, they're highlighting all the weaknesses. Every team, we're highlighting all the positive. Every single time you do this exercise. And if you are doing it like that, this team can never grow because you do not trust saying what needs to be said for us to get to the next level. If you are doing it, if you cannot have the courage to tell the person, come on, what the hell are you doing? You know, if you cannot say that, if you cannot trust that, you're going to say, how on earth are you going to move forward? There's a beautiful book called The Art of War by Sun Tzu. You know, it's just short. Everyone should read it. He talks about the art of military war. And in there he says, the most important person in a team is who? Who's the most important person in a team? Anyone, guess. Huh? Me, the leader, the person with the horse, the person with the gun. Who's the most important person in the team? The person standing next to you. Why? Where's your threat coming from? There. If you don't trust this guy and you're looking here, you're dead. Correct? This is why he says the most important person in any team is the person standing next to you. They're the ones who protect you. So if you don't have the courage to nudge them and push them and tell them, come on, both of you dead. The art and science of teams is so beautiful, so simple. And you know, in the best teams, I've seen this in the locker room. Sometimes you go into a locker room after a match and it's mayhem. You know, people look like they're going to kill each other. And 20 minutes later or 30 minutes later, everyone's best friends. Right? That is psychological safety. The safety to just say what is needed to, right there. And then, anyone watch Ted Lasso? Ted Lasso, brilliant. He says, say what we want to, and then you be a goldfish. Forget it. Forget what's said, we move on. We remember the lesson, and we move on. That is the most powerful thing that Ted says in that entire 3 seasons. Be a goldfish. And every single athlete is that, a goldfish. Say it. Get it out. Remember it. And now it's done. We move forward. How many people have a procrastination problem? Huh? Only one person's owning up. Statistically, they're actually procrastinating, putting their hands up. That's what's happening. Huh? I'll like pause this for a little bit later, like everything else. Okay. Most people struggle with motivation because they don't understand or they're not willing to own up to what their primary drivers are. Every single one of us. Guys, someone asked me a question yesterday. I did a 6-hour seminar with corporate CEOs. And they asked me, what's the cutting edge research in psychology for leadership? And my answer was, I said, we're coming back to understand that our psychology is still primal. That's where we are. With everything, we've advanced, we've gone to the moon, we've got AI, we've got everything. But our psychology is still very, very primal. Our brain, our primal instinct has not evolved like everything else. That's where we come back to. And when you start to understand that, man, the world changes. Now, most of us may know it, but we're scared to own up to it. There are only three primal drivers: money, fame, and power. And it doesn't mean you have it. If you're motivated by money, doesn't mean you're a millionaire. If you're motivated by fame, doesn't mean you have 1 million followers. If you're motivated by power, power is what? Power is influence over others. Doesn't mean you necessarily have it. But every decision will come down to how much of that you're going to get. So if you are struggling to find motivation to do anything, it's because the primal driver is not being satisfied. So how do you motivate? I ask my teams, and guys, it may not seem like an interesting, or it may not seem like a conversation you want to have. Most of us are scared to have this. I have this with every single athlete of mine. This is how we get results. Because I need to know what's driving him. If I don't know what's driving him, how am I going to extract every drop, every essence of it? Here's something really interesting. Let me ask you a question. Name me, let's leave the UK athletes out of it. Name me Olympic gold medalists. Names? Michael Phelps, Usain Bolt. Michael Phelps, Usain Bolt. Anyone else? Okay. Carl Lewis. Correct. So every time someone names you an athlete who's won an Olympic medal outside of their country, they name you someone who's won multiple medals. Someone who's sustained it for a prolonged period of time, at least a decade. Michael Phelps won 21 gold medals, right, at the Olympics. You know, Carl Lewis has won, I think, 4. Usain Bolt's got 9 gold medals. 1 got taken away. How is it that someone can sustain performance for a decade when some of us can't even raise our hand up? It's because they understand what drives them. Only when you understand what's going to push you extra, you do it. I speak to my athletes, and my athletes tell me, we need to win, because when we win, we're going to be rich, and I'm interested in the money. Some athletes tell me, if I get this, I need to go, I'm going to be famous. You know, or they understand the power it brings. They understand the driver, they acknowledge the driver. When you acknowledge the driver, every single thing changes. Okay. Now, let me ask you this question. This is very interesting. How many Nobel Prize winners do you see in this picture? How many people do you recognize in this photo? 1. Everyone only recognizes 1. Same guy. In the middle. Huh? Correct? Everyone. Do you know what's fascinating? Every time I show this photograph here is, has anyone ever seen a young picture of Albert Einstein? No. Isn't it crazy that every 8 billion people on the planet, everyone's image of Einstein is exactly the same? Huh? The man with the hair all over, no one can even picture. He just fell on earth like this. He wasn't a child. He was not a baby. No one knows. You know, Albert Einstein. Someone told me a joke once. I have to tell you this, because every time I say Albert Einstein, it reminds me of this. They say Albert Einstein was a genius. His brother Frank was a monster. Okay, guys, coming back to this. This is a picture. This is a picture of the Solvay conference. The Solvay conference is a conference of physicists that happens all the time. This picture has 29 people in it. 17 of them are Nobel winners. At the time this photo was taken, only 1 person had won a Nobel Prize in physics. Okay. Everyone else won it after. They were not invited into this picture because they won the Nobel Prize. They won the Nobel Prize because they were invited to the picture. The difference is in belonging. The difference is when we create a space where everyone feels like they belong there, the best rises. Your talent will rise. Everything will flourish. When a person doesn't feel like they belong there, when they feel like you're not a part of that, you don't want to bring your best to the party. You don't want everything to come out. Does everyone understand this? I'm sure I have been in this countless number of times where I've been in a room where I felt I don't want to be here. And the first thing you're doing is you're looking at your watch and when am I going to get out of here? And if you're in a job, then all you're doing on the first of the month is counting days till the 30th of the month, to when the check hits the bank account. When you don't feel like you belong somewhere, your brain cannot think of giving anything except the least. So guys, come back to the 6 words. The 6 words that I told you: understand, heard, seen, valued, respected, treated fairly. This is the science of performance. When you create that feeling where everyone feels like they belong there, magic happens. Magic happens. Now, I want to tell you a story. This is a very, very interesting story. You know, I used to make a lot of content. And how do we do this? How do we bring everyone in? I used to make a lot of content and create these videos, and these videos used to get shared around. And for those of you who don't know, I lived for 4 years as a monk in the temple in South Africa, in the ISKCON temple in South Africa. And one day, a video got shared with my spiritual master where I was talking to my team. I was trying to motivate them, but my language was terrible. It's disgusting. You know, a lot of vulgarity and stuff. So he called me. It was probably the most embarrassing moment of my life. He called me and he showed me this video. He says, what is this, Shayamal? So I said, you know, in the world of sport, this is how we speak. This is how we speak to each other. You know this, you know, in sportsmen, we have this sort of vulgarity. We push each other in that shape and form. So he told me something really powerful. He told me, the human body, every single thing that comes out of the human body stinks. Everything. Feces smells, sweat smells, saliva smells, urine smells. You can't change that. He says the only thing that has the potential to be sweet are your words. He says, why are you making that stink as well? You know, that story, I went back to my room in the temple, I cried so much. And I've never sworn after that in front of my teammates ever again. Now, this changed my life, and I'm telling you the story why. Because the language we use with people changes every single thing. That sense of belonging, that sense of bringing people in, everything it has to do with the words we use, with the language we use, with everything. The science of performance is not rocket science. It's not like building a spaceship. It comes down to the tiny micro-granule things. Things like your words, things like your tone, things like how you acknowledge someone, things like when you ask them, how are you, do you really, really care? I'm going to show you something really interesting. This is a story. Maybe we can come back to this one. Let's try this exercise. We'll come back to that beautiful story and that video. Everyone put your hands up. One hand, one hand. Great. Put it up higher. 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 Great. Okay, you don't have to stand up, just as high as you can. So are you guys as high as you can now? Great. So let me ask you a question. When I said put your hands up, you can put your hands down. Why didn't you reach for your maximum the first time? You can take this exercise and you can do this with any single person on the planet, and they will never put their hands up to the maximum the first time. Why? Why? Go and try it. Try it with anyone, everywhere. It's a magic trick. I'm giving you a magic trick. It'll never happen because your brain is not designed to give maximum. Your brain knows it will be asked to give more, so it holds back. You will always only bring 60% to the party first time. It's a fact. And there are 2 ways for you to get to the max. Way 1 is someone like me standing here and saying, go, go, go. Or maybe if it's in the UK ice cream business, Jenny's like, come on, come on, come on. You can do it. And then there are a few people who has their own Shayamal and their own Jen inside there saying, come on, come on, come on. Those are the champion athletes where that voice is on repeat in themselves. where they know it. Guys, this exercise is the most powerful exercise you're going to take away from here today. Because why? I want you to remember this. If that voice in your head is not telling you to push, 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 and for most of us, it hasn't been. The pause button's been on. I want you to be very, 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 very excited. Why? Because you got to this room with about 50 to 60% effort. Can you imagine what's going to happen when you just press play? Play on repeat. Can you imagine what's going to happen? This is what I tell my athletes every single day. What is those words? What is those messages that you're going to say? Now, I'm going to go back. Let me go back to this beautiful... This is a video. This is a video from the 2011 Rugby World Cup final. I've got a beautiful story, but I want us to watch this.
On a searching run. Taken down on the tackle by Trendu. Ball laid back there for Wepu. Now here's Thorne running hard at Mas. And the ball lost forward, and now the All Blacks have a player down, and it's Aaron Cruden.
But Stephen Donald up and about. Just the white bait net has to wait for a more important occasion. None more than this. Well, of course, this is the other goal-kicking option we were just discussing too, Grant Fox, and that the right leg, of course, is it's kicking leg.
But if he goes off, Donald is the goal kicker, of course.
No good.
No good. Well, that's sad for Aaron Cruden. Both number 10s have been pushed out of the game. And, well, cometh the hour. Well, cometh the man.
Number 4, 5'8" for the All Blacks. It's been a jinx position, but, well, Stephen Donald's got plenty of experience. And, boy, he will be excited about this opportunity right here. He's been in this team a lot, played with Wepu a lot. He'll know the systems and the calls.
23rd cap.
What a twist of fate. Unbelievable.
Being asked to half the ball up. And it's on the French side, penalty day. Now, who's going to do the goal kicking? That's the question.
Stephen Donald striding forward.
Yeah.
Pointing to the posts.
Confidently too, and I like that. And I love the cheer he's getting from this crowd at Eden Park. This man's copped a bit of criticism in his time, but he's a guy that the All Black players love and respect. And so cometh the hour.
Any normal situation, Grant Fox, you're back in here, but where you think he's been and the lack of rugby he's played and the occasion, it's as big a kick as you'll ever get.
Well, he has kicked 95 points. He scored 95 points in Test Rugby. Here's his kick. And he's nailed it.
Okay, keep pausing.
Good left shoulder forward, head down, follow through.
All right, so do you know what happened there? Anyone? I'm going to tell you the story. It's the most remarkable story in sport ever. Right? That was a Rugby World Cup final. Okay. That guy you saw kick it, his name was Stephen Donald. But what happened before that was the most remarkable thing. Right? That World Cup was in New Zealand, and New Zealand were the favorites. And that position is called a fly-half that kicks it. And they had the best fly-half in the world. His name was Dan Carter. And in a test match, before the World Cup, he got injured. He hyperextended his knee and he has gone out. So they brought in his replacement. His replacement was Colin Slade. And in the second game of the World Cup, that guy hurt his back and he's out. So the person you saw get injured was the third replacement, Aaron Cruden, for the most important position for the favorites in a World Cup. And he got injured in the second half of the World Cup final. And that guy who walked on is Stephen Donald. And that kick was the first time he touched the ball in the Rugby World Cup final. And it was the most important kick because there were 5-love. So if you converted that, they would have gone to 8. So even if France scored a try and the conversion, they got 7. And that was the result. They won 8-7. Now imagine this. Imagine this. You are in a team and you're playing in an event, and most people statistically would play in 1, maximum 2 World Cups in their life. He was the 4th choice for the most important position. And his first touch in a World Cup is the most important kick in the game. And he made it. How do you think he made it? How on earth do you think he made it? Because this is the most powerful lesson you need to take away. You see, athletes operate with this one underlying rule. We know it's in our blood. We don't talk about it, but we know it. The rule is that there is no greater travesty than getting an opportunity you're not prepared for. There is no greater travesty than getting an opportunity you're not prepared for. He made that kick because he kicked 100 balls every single day, even though he knew he was never going to play. Because just in case, he was called to make one kick, he was the right person in the right place to do it. Now, why am I telling you this story? I'm telling you this because 99.9% of us walk through life with what? First, you want someone to stroll in and give you an opportunity. And then you want them to pay you bloody well to do that. And then you want them to give you 1 year to prepare to do that job well. What world are you living in? What world are you living in? You need to think. Every single one of us, you know what you want and you know what you need to do. And you know, the world works in a very, very beautiful way. It works in a way where if you just start doing the work, the opportunity comes. Just start doing the work, the opportunity comes. I see it every single one of you has seen this and recognized this in some shape and form. Just start a little bit, it pays back 10 times. The greatest travesty is getting an opportunity you're not prepared for. The red car, I gotta tell you this. How many of you saw any red cars coming here in the morning? No one. Okay. But if I gave you 100 pounds for every red car you see, how many cars you think you'd see going home? Lots. Correct. What's happening there? That's called, in neuroscience, we're activating an aspect of our brain called the reticular activating system, which means when you bring something here, the brain sees it. I tried to teach this to my footballers. I realized this. I gave them this whole red car story, and I'm telling them. And then I realized, I said, guys, what are you doing? You know, they said, we're looking for the player. And I said, holy shit. They're looking for the wrong thing. Because in football, if you look for the player, he's not going to be there. Because he's running forward all the time. So the red car in football is not the player. The red car is space. Because everyone in a game of football is looking to run into space. If you watch any football. Right? So if you're looking for the player, you're always kicking the ball behind him. So you have to train it. But what is the power of this red car story? Is, guys, the red car is symbolic of where there are opportunities. What do you need to look for? What is it that you need to look for? I can't give you this answer. You got to know. Whether it's driving sales, I remember listening in the morning and looking at the winter's got to be really good. The winter's got to be like the summer. But what are you looking for? You know, yes, the number is there. The number will take care of itself. But what exactly are you looking for? If you can't answer this question, how are you going to find it? If you can't answer this question, how are you going to find it? So the red car, remember, you got to wake up every single morning. And neuroscience tells us that what you keep here will be what you see throughout the day. Neuroscience also tells something really beautiful, that the last step you take yesterday is the first step you take today. What does that mean? That means the way you end yesterday is how you'll start today. So if you go to bed knowing what you want to achieve today, right, you'll wake up with clarity of thought, precision, alignment, energy, and you move in that direction. Okay, so let's talk about this. I'm almost done. I won't take too much more time. Okay. Everyone asks me about how athletes hack confidence. This is something we should all know. Most people, right? I run this exercise with everyone. Let me ask, let's try this. What were some of the wins you had today? But not as a team, you as a person. What were some of the wins? Can you name me some wins? You as an individual had, not as an organization, not as a team. What were some wins individually that you had? You got here. Perfect. Yeah. Anyone else? Yeah. Good gym session. Amazing. Amazing. Remember the presentation. Great. 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 The train was at the platform. Great. Great. So most people, when you ask them to remember wins, they can't remember too many. They can't. They have to scratch their brain really, really hard. You know, why is that? Why is that? You're scratching your brain really hard for wins because in your brain you've thought yourself a win is there. You've thought yourself, oh my God, we're gonna cross 1 billion in turnover. That's a win, and it is a win. But the problem is those wins come once a year, once in 18 months, and the rest of the year you're beating yourself down, beating yourself down, beating yourself down. Okay. How do you hack your confidence? See, I used to ask this to everyone. Do you think a successful sportsman is a confident sportsman, or a confident sportsman is a successful sportsman? A or B? A successful sportsman is a confident sportsman, or do you think a confident sportsman is a successful sportsman? Confidence is successful. We know it, isn't it? Every time someone asks you a question like this, we all have the right answer. The question is exactly again, big picture to small. How do you hack it? You hack it every single day. Every single day. On my phone, I have a list of wins. Anything, the tiniest, most inconceivable thing, I write it down as a win. And in the night, I just read that list. Because confidence is a muscle. Confidence is a muscle. When you start to teach your brain to see everything as a win, imagine how you're going to feel at the end of the day. Oh, I got to the gym. I remembered the presentation. The train was right there, man. The universe is working in my favor. I went, oh my God, they had my favorite croissants there. Oh my God, I went there. Jen saw me first. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. You say 100 oh my Gods. What is going to happen to you by the end of the week? You're going to be walking on air. Right. This is confidence. And all of a sudden, when they say, okay, I need you to make a presentation to this big company, and you're going to like, sure, the whole universe is working in my favor. Let's go. That's what's going to happen. How do you hack confidence? You hack it by looking. Most people make the mistake of trying to push the ceiling, trying to find those big, big, big things. Don't do that. Look for the tiniest small things, everything. You know, you stop to say hello to someone. You smiled at the person who made your coffee. You know, you took an extra couple minutes to do this. You finished the stuff. Whatever it is, tiny. Because your brain doesn't know the difference between you getting the train on time and you hitting $1 billion or top. It has no clue. It's the same thing. It's exactly the same for the brain. So, guys, if we want to win, we have to win in here first. If we win in here first, we win out there. It's like every single athlete tells me the same thing. It says, we see the win in here, the win just happens out there. Everything that you're feeling inside of you is a mirror of what's happening on the outside. Every single thing. You're doubting yourself, nothing's going to happen. You're winning in here, everything's going to happen. And the beautiful thing about confidence is, once it starts happening, you feel like every single thing is working in your favor. Now, I'm going to tell you this beautiful story. You know, there was a young boy whose dad was a rice farmer. And this young boy wanted to help his father one day. So he goes out into the farm and he starts to pluck the weeds. But the rice and the weeds were growing together. And every time this young boy, tiny, 4 years old, every time he tried to pull the weeds out, the rice came out. And his dad saw this. So his dad called him and said, "Son, what are you doing?" He says, "I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to pull the weeds out. Weeds are bad." And the father says, "No, son." He says, "The rice and the weeds have to grow together. And when we harvest, we'll separate them." What's he teaching his son? You see, most of us, guys, and this is very important, very, very important. Most people wake up every single day and they think that they're looking for the perfect environment. They're looking for an environment where everyone is supportive, where every phone call gets answered, where every email gets replied on time, where everyone's giving you a hug and everything's happening. Not going to happen. We have to learn to grow amongst the weeds. Weeds are symbolic of what? You're going to get someone with that negative voice. You're going to get people that close the door. You're going to get everything. But we're going to have to grow amongst that. And why can you do that? Why can you do that? Why do you have the ability to grow with the weeds? I'll tell you why. Do you know what is the one thing we cannot question? We cannot question the law of gravity. You throw something up, it's going to fall down. 13.2 meters per second. It's going to come down. Correct. Every single one of us understands that. We accept that. It's there. It controls our life. It's how we even stuck to this earth. The law of gravity cannot be questioned. But yet, somehow, we got to the moon. So if something is pulling us down, how on earth did we get there? We got there because as strong as the power of gravity is, there's a power inside of you which is called willpower, which is greater than anything on the planet. So how do I know that you have the ability to grow amongst the weeds? Because you have willpower. That's how I know that. And willpower is the strongest power in the world. So now I'm going to end. And I'm going to end with one last thing. Every single one of you is in this room because you are successful. Success is not questioned at all. Does anyone in this room doubt that your success will continue to grow? Anyone doubt it? Hands up if you doubt it. Okay, brilliant. Success is not the most important thing. The question you need to ask yourself is not whether I will be successful. The question you have to ask yourself is whether I will matter. What's the difference between success and matter? The difference is success. The camera's pointing here. Everything is towards you. When you ask yourself, is what I'm going to do matter? The camera's pointing outwards, towards every single one else. And what we need to do, the only thing we need to do, is turn the direction of the camera. That's it.